I do not want to comment.
Je me suis donné toutes les réponses dont j'avais besoin.
C'est la Fashion Week. Ils se mettent sur le trottoir, les fashion.
What are those? Dior clothes.
It's fashion art. Dude, fashion is hard work, gritty, it's not glamorous.
Okay, you know, now les dés sont jetés. It means like, what can happen, you know?
That's all.
Hi, Becca.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Thanks for taking the time to speak a little bit about yourself with us.
Yeah, I just did like 6 hours of flight just to come and speak to you.
Thank you. But we put the table with this is the style.com color.
As I told, I feel the smell.
Okay.
Thank you for this effort for
We
me.
wanted you to feel like perfect.
You're at home.
Thank you.
Okay, so can you go through a little bit of your life? So let's start like where did you grow up and how was you like a kid, high school? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I'm a post-Soviet kid, born in 91 in the second biggest city of Georgia, which is called Kutaisi.
Okay.
And I was born, as I mentioned, on the day of the biggest earthquake in Georgia, because I was supposed to be born in 1 week after, like in around like 5th of May,
So
but
you
I
were
was
a
born
little
in
bit
30th
early.
of April. And like my astrologist tells, it was the day even the earthquake happened. It's like the energy was released, so it was like the new fresh energy in the air.
Okay.
So the stars were aligning in a lucky way for me. So I think now, in a way, how my life went from the childhood until today, it makes sense because I feel that I'm lucky. I don't know if it's really connected to my birth date and exact hour. Like I was born on 11:44 a.m.
Okay.
In the morning. So she tells me that it was the most perfect timing for me.
Wow.
Yeah, so lucky from the beginning.
Yes.
Love that.
So I grew up there. I finished my school there. I mean, compared to what people think about post-Soviet era, because Georgia is the country which lived for so many years under the Soviet control, it was the very interesting time to grow up because it was the start, the year when Georgia announced independence. So I'm one of the first kids born in Georgia after it became independent country after the Soviet Union collapsed.
So it was a very important year, the year that you were born.
It was exactly
For the country, I mean.
It was even the same month when the independence was announced.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So I'm like the April is very important month of 91 for Georgia. So from the start, I was kind of, what I see now when I look back, that I've already felt, in a way, if it doesn't sound like too much and too selfish, let's say, about me, that I was kind of interested in much more different things than other kids in my neighborhood. Because from the very early days, I was attracted everything that was like multimedia, let's say. Would it be a TV, newspapers, magazines and everything? And I remember my grandfather, who was one of the most famous pattern cutters and tailors in our city.
Oh, okay.
He was doing stuff for like all the Soviet big people. He was the one who was reading all these magazines and newspapers from the start. So this attraction of mine with the magazines started when I was 3. My grandfather remembered that I was already kind of trying to read and understand what was written. It wasn't fashion, it was like political and like the daily newspapers, because he did not care about fashion, he just knew how to cut a good suit, that's it.
Okay.
And he used to bring all the newspapers, and I was already attracted with how they looked, what was written there, how the pictures and the text were placed next to each other, the layout and everything around it. So when I went to the school, which was far from my actual home, because my mother dreamed to study in that school actually, but she could not go there because you should have gone to the school which was super close to your neighborhood. You could not go far somewhere because it was like very Soviet, like administrational stuff. So this was the school where the cool kids of our city and the kids of all the former Soviet ministers and stuff, I mean, their grandsons were studying. So from the start, I'm coming from the normal family. We were not like any privileged anything. So I was already growing up in the atmosphere with the kids and also in the school, which was much different from the other schools in my neighborhood, because we were put in a different activities. We had like all these performances almost every month. We were more... we even had like the TV shootings, and our school concerts were shown in the local television. And I was singing until starting from my age of 4 until 14, when one day I woke up and my voice was gone. I mean, it was changed and it was gone forever, because they were preparing to get me to the like pop idol of Georgia.
Oh my God.
Wow.
I mean, yeah.
That would be iconic.
Yes. Because, I mean, they were telling that I was singing, I mean, I was good in that, but then it did not happen. I mean, I was lucky to be a child compared to some of the children around in my neighborhood, because my parents had one of the first supermarkets. They were the owners of one of the first supermarkets in our town. So they were bringing like Coca-Cola or Kinder or Snickers or like
American products.
I mean,
Pop culture, kind of.
Pop culture,
pop
to
culture.
me, because I was one of the first kids in my neighborhood who tasted the Kinder Surprise.
Oh my God.
We had
So
some-
you were
we had some
lucky kid.
Yes, so I told you. So on the birthdays to my like childhood friends, I was gifting them like the few Kinder Surprises, like
my
these
God.
chocolate eggs.
Yes.
They were shocked. They were so happy because we had collection of these, the penguins and the dolphins and all the stuff. I had collection of more than 1,000 of these toys, because I mean I could
had
get
so
as much
many.
Kinder as I wanted. So then they started to bring some products from Europe. So I remember my father traveled himself to Europe to discover some new products, like the grocery products. But he also started to bring me the stuff, like the clothing stuff, that was not available in Georgia. So this was kind of, I'm telling this because it's like the slow connection and touch with fashion and looks that when started, because I remember there was this green Adidas shorts and the shirt that he gifted me on my 6th birthday, and it was something that I was wearing forever because it was super large, super big on me. But you know, as a Soviet kid, to save money, they were buying like
Bigger.
bigger stuff,
So
because
you can use
it
it
would
for
last
years.
for a few years.
Yes, we know that.
And then my parents went to the immigration. They went to work in Greece. Because I mean, then the government changed in Georgia, so they lost their jobs and they had to close their the
store?
supermarket and stores, so they had to go. And I was raised by my grandmother, which was, I mean, she was super strict. They did not allow me, because she was like had a responsibility that she was now my father, mother, grandmother. So she was my everything. And she was super strict, but I think this even made me more interested in the stuff, because at some point I was not allowed to go and have fun like with my friends out as much as other parents let them, because she was afraid. She felt this
Yeah, she was
responsibility,
scared.
because it was the country and the time when we had almost no lights in the streets.
Okay.
So electricity was coming only on the big celebration days, or like it was super rare. So she was afraid, and being home and having this time when some of my, but I'm telling this when I was like 9 or 10 years old. When I became teenager, obviously I went out, so no one could stop me. But when I was 9 and 10, this time spending home, the compensation was that I was telling to her, okay, if I can't go out and cannot have fun, I need some fun at home. So this fun was like all the magazines or the access to the internet or watching the television, because internet connection that time was super expensive. So my parents gifted me one of the first computers in my neighborhood, because people were coming to see what it was actually, to see and touch like the mouse, how it was working. It was 2004. But for my hometown, it was the thing to have a computer that time. And it was even the flat screen, not the big one.
Ooh, fancy.
And that was the time when being home made me discover the MTV.
Yes.
When made me discover YouTube and made me discover the first reality show that I was watching, The Simple Life. So then I discovered Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie.
Yes.
Which was something that to see, it brought me so many emotions to me to see how two girls in the time so rich and with every possibility in their families were living that simple life. But the irony behind all this, and then even all the other shows, or like the music top charts and everything that was happening on MTV, it was so interesting for me. So first, my big touch, the pop culture, it was the music. So I was attracted to the music, not to fashion.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think most people who are not super privileged.
I mean, it was the time when I first found out who Justin Timberlake was, and it was the time when he launched his first album. And I mean, the golden time of the pop culture.
Yes, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera.
Of course. And Avril Lavigne, which I saw last season, she was like everywhere during the fashion weekend. I could not believe that 20 years ago, when she was singing this Skater Boy, this was the girl who was sitting in front of me just randomly at the shows. And I mean, I don't feel the same connection or emotion, but it was really fascinating this after 20 years that we met. And I met Justin Timberlake last summer at the Kenzo after party.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, you are the reason why I love the music. So he was super nice and super happy to hear that. And but this all was happening in parallel with my school studies, because I was one of the best student in the school. I had like the top grades in everything, and I was the kid who teachers always relied on, because if no one could answer the question, they knew that I always had the answer, because I always read what was given for the homework, so I always knew what to answer. Because this responsibility actually comes from my grandmother, because she always kind of not push, but she made me understand how important was to study and to be responsible about the stuff. And so I was growing, and as my parents were like sending more and more stuff of clothing from Greece, that was actually when I started to think more and more how I looked when I was going to the school. So it was the age around, let's say, 11 or 12, when I got my first Zara items, because for Georgia to have a Zara item wearing, it was something like you would wear Prada. Absolutely, absolutely. And to have the stuff from there, it was like, in the school, I became one of the the fashion guy.
You became Justin Timberlake of your school.
I was probably the only guy who was wearing the high top boots in the school with my denim pants tucked inside. They are not covered from outside, which was something that girls would do normally. So I was getting like looks here and there, but I liked how it looked, so I didn't care. And I started to wear, like, experimenting all the stuff, wear like some looks that I would never repeat, obviously, like lots of colors, because I kind of was trying to find my style or my colors. And around at the age of 15 or 16, and I'm still a good kid, a student at school, so nothing distracted me from the studies. And at this time, it was the first time when my parents brought me to the Greece, so it was my first real shopping when I went myself, and they gave me like €100 and they let me go inside the Zara and H&M stores in Athens.
Wow, that was me.
That was
mind-blowing.
But to be honest, I brought, I think, more gifts for my friends and spent more money for them rather than me, because I already kind of had all this stuff for me, and they were like really waiting from me what I would bring from Europe. So I remember I was so happy that I saw like these €2 or €3 t-shirts at H&M dropped like in one big basket. So I bought like 15 of them.
So you can
and
bring
when
them.
I arrived, I called all of them. So I was like,
you get a shirt. You get a shirt.
Exactly. So, and then time by time, I found out like the brands, more and more brands that I liked more and more, but I could not afford. And it was the time when I'm already a teenager. I said goodbye to my possible like this musical career, because I was even like in my night dreams imagining how I was singing, and even I had my like a list of the songs that I wanted to perform at the first audition when they select you from the jury and the pop idol and like all this, but then it just crashed. So there was like a little gap because I was so much into the music. I didn't know what would be the other industry, because I am the person that needs an obsession. I'm always, when I look my life back, I have this obsession. Times would it be an industry, job, or a food? Maybe if I like something, I completely dedicate myself to it. So now, when I found that music wasn't interesting, and all these like tabloids and standard newspapers and magazines about the OK Magazine or Hello Magazine that were like writing about the music, I read all of them, and it was not giving like interesting stuff for me. One day I found actually that I saw some more glossy stuff that was more expensive and looked more interesting for me, and it was the first issue of the Cosmopolitan magazine of Georgia version, which was like publishing for like 3 years only, and they were then closed because no one bought it. And that was my first real touch. Obviously, Cosmopolitan is not the fashion magazine, but before you touch Vogue or Elle or Bazaar, you need something to start that brings you there.
Yeah, of course.
So kind of the finding of this Cosmopolitan magazine was when I was already preparing for the national exams to go to the university. Okay. I was 17, and this was when actually my childhood was over, because I moved to live separately myself, detached from my family. So I moved to this big capital of Georgia in Tbilisi, and this is where childhood ends, where it starts to understand how is it to live alone when you actually have to take care for yourself. Yeah. And this is also when I'm more liberated, because I don't have eye of my parents or my grandmother or anyone. So I can actually go out, explore the life as much as you could do that time in Georgia. I'm talking about year of 2008 when I moved.
How was it at that time?
So it's the time when we had the small but very difficult situation with Russia, which is still happening, and I don't know the country which doesn't have this situation with Russia. There was a small 5 days of war in Georgia in August 2008, which fortunately ended only in 5 days, and it's not the same what's happening today is in Ukraine. And it was the post-war time when I moved to Tbilisi. But Georgia and Georgians, we are the people who don't really get into depression and we don't give up. So as much as you push us, we are coming with more strengths, and we are trying to show you to someone who is trying to attack that we have a power, even if we are the small nation, and we can overcome this and live more better life. And sometimes when we think after all these wars and attacks that Georgia has seen throughout the history of 21 centuries for now, from various different empires or countries throughout the years, we survived. We came till today, and even if we are just 3 million people, I don't know in the world the country as unique and as full of the people who can overcome any kind of trouble because of their sense of humor, actually. Because at some point we say that we don't take anything too seriously. I mean, we say that even the most serious thing, we can find something that we can turn into something fun. And I think after the war was over in Georgia, when everyone thought that could be a time of depression, and I mean, it was hard, but it was the birth of another energy in Georgia. And when my generation of people, the post-Soviet kids, actually grew up, we already left our teenage years. We went to the universities. And this is funny that some of the best talents were actually coming from the regions, not from the capital of Georgia, because we had probably more to say and we want to explore. So we went to Tbilisi for the studies, but we kind of exploded there. And everyone, most of the people who represent something today in their age of like 30s, in the beginning of their 30s, are my generation of people who grow up in the same situation as me. But this limitless, this lack of all the resources and access to everything, to the world, has, I think, pushed our minds more. That we had to think and find a solution of the things in our own way, which became then unique. So around me, my friends who are successful in, could it be a banking or fashion in other area, none of them come from the capital. They all come from the regions. It's super interesting. I mean, it's something that
maybe it's more eager to,
Absolutely. And everyone who now even internationally became successful, many of them, none of them were born in Tbilisi. They all come from the regions. And especially, I'm proud to say that my region, where I come from, and my city is known as the city which has the best, where the people have the best and biggest sense of humor ever in Georgia, and the most delicious, most simple but the most delicious food. Which is my biggest passion
in life.
I mean, I don't know if it's bigger than fashion, but I mean, anyway, I mean, sometimes
it's more vital for sure.
If I would not work in fashion, and if I stop one day, I will go to the kitchen, obviously, because I love to cook and I prepare a lot myself. So 2008 became for me the time when I first saw after the war, the first issue of Vogue. I paid in it for around, let's say, 10 euros, which for that time in Georgia, is a lot. It was my weekly allowance money.
Wow.
I mean, almost.
Yeah.
And I bought, but when I discovered, I found the world inside that I thought finally this small light in my brain was like lightened that now this is the industry I want to work, but I did not know what I wanted to do. Obviously, I knew I would not be a model, but I even thought about I could be a photographer. I could be someone that
stylist.
Stylist, editor. But mostly when I was going back and seeing, I was most interested what was the layout, what was the headline, how texts were written, what was the composition of the page.
Put together.
Yes, and obviously when I found Karin Reutefeld's Vogue Paris and just the forget about the covers or editorials. The art direction of the magazine, with the text, how they were placed, and the fonts, how they were played, it was the work of art for me. And then I discovered all the Vogues of Italias and Americas and everything. But Vogue Paris was
the starter,
the base that made me love fashion. And the models, obviously, I knew who was Naomi, I knew who was Kate Moss, but their cover of Vogue Paris, when they're both together, by Maria Testino, February 2008, when Naomi is holding with her hand Kate's like on the neck. That was the cover that I still probably every week take out and look, and it's just refreshes my love for fashion. So this was the time I moved to the capital, was the time also when Georgian cultural scene actually started to slowly boom, when we had more access to abroad travel, when visa became easier for us to get. So we started to travel, see the world, and bring the things which maybe older generation does not like earring on a man or wearing something super crazy for them. But actually that was I'm kind of been on this crossroads and the breaking moments of Georgia. It went through my eyes, the modern Georgia, because I was born in the same months.
Yes.
So I'm one of the first independent kids.
I see. So you moved to the capital city to study. What did you want to study?
Management.
Okay.
And I will explain you why.
That face, you're like, oh.
Yes, but it's the face. It's a phase of my generation, actually, because we all studied in the same faculty. So when I connect this and when I realized why I made this decision was, I already liked and knew about fashion a bit, but the wish to bring probably my parents out from this emigration and to bring them into Georgia because they went there for better life and to keep us the
together.
Family and to send money, to say directly, so we could live. It was probably the reason that, okay, I'm a man, I should take care about the family, and what's better industry than banking or like private business to go, because until now, banking and pharmacy industry is the biggest income industry and the biggest salaries for the people. Even for my friends who work there, they live the best compared to others who are more like in arts or in fashion or in any other industries. If you work in somewhere in the bank or in pharmacy,
it's kind of safe.
It's kind of safe because you have a guarantee that you have like stable income every month. So that was my thought. So I went to the university and I studied business management, but on the first lecture, I realized I was in the wrong place. And since my parents wanted to give me the best education, they told me that we can pay for the studies. So I passed in one of the best, top and most expensive universities of Georgia, because since they were not with me, they wanted to kind of compensate their absence and to give me the best, so I could get the something that I really wanted. So they were making like my wishes, or what they were thinking was my wish, to make it reality. So I started, and it wasn't. I would say that I wouldn't say I lost those 4 years, but it was not inspiring, let's say, and I was on like the autopilot going every morning, and it was a place where I would reconnect more with my friends. Obviously, I know about economics, I studied about business, about management, and at some point I used this knowledge, and even I know how to do some really difficult like financial equations to solve them, because I spent nights to do this. But there was on the third year, there was a change of direction that we could select and go more of a marketing side, which made me allow. I mean, it was still business management, but with the
brands,
profile of the marketing. So that gave me really a possibility to do a lots of PowerPoint presentations, where I kind of showed and explored myself how good compared to other students I was, how pleasurable, how much pleasure it was giving to me to create all this visual stuff, create presentation about anything. I've done presentation about from the wine or imaginary project, how I would do a huge hotel in my countryside home, and finished with the Spice Girls or with the Chanel. I mean, I did all of this, but it really made me how to choose the fonts and layout, where to put the pictures. So my presentations, I spent nights to them, but they were like perfection for that time.
Yes.
I would do something different now. So I was already on this, so it kind of made it more fun. But what was good that after the university time, because at 3 p.m. we were free from university, we had no homework mostly because we already did everything there with my group of friends. I had so much time to dedicate to my other interest, which was already fashion, meaning that I found, after lots of digging in Google, the fashion forum called the Fashion Spot, which was the place of discussion for everyone who really loved fashion and who wanted
especially models.
Absolutely. And these models and magazines discussions, they're the categories were the most updated ones. And actually the place where actually know most of my English, because I had to understand the words, what they were writing there. So I had to go and translate all of this stuff. And I remember for the first year, I was not afraid, but was not confident to start posting myself, because I knew I did not have the perfect English.
And the community was tough. It was a tough community.
They were tough. And I remember for the first year, they did not really get me, because I kind of wanted to express how much I felt them, how much I loved everything, but I did not have enough words to express all of this. So I was trying, and they were so perfect with their descriptions and the analysis, because there were so many insiders of fashion, like anonymous accounts behind the users. I was trying hard, but then I found my niche, how I would show myself, that I found the sources and kind of like secrets where I would find the magazine covers or editorials first before anyone other, which is something I do on Style.com today, because I have lots of information, sometimes from the brand, sometimes I dig and discover myself. And that is the time when I first started to spend nights on Amazon Japan, just to refresh the page and find the Vogue Japan, Vogue Nippon, it was called that time, it was not Japan, with the all white covers, mostly by Ines and Vino, then Giampaolo, when they would put the Vogue logo on the face of the models, but it was at the start looking so weird, but now it's kind of iconic to look back those images. And I would spend nights to refresh the Vogue Italia's website, which is one of the worst technically designed website ever.
God, yes.
They had no protection of the website, and the subscribers would pay something. If you would change just one letter in the URL, you would get all the content for free. So I found with my logic this thing. So I
cracked the code.
I cracked the codes. I was one of the first who released like the covers when Giselle came back after the pregnancy, and there was this crazy shoot with Steven Meisel, June 2011 or 12. I don't remember exactly, but it was definitely month of June. Because Giselle was absent for a few months, and it was her first outing. And I remember Daily Mail brought this video that I uploaded to my YouTube channel, which was called like Passion for Fashion or something like that, where I grabbed the video from Vogue Italia's website because they could not protect it and there was no copyright. They didn't have the YouTube channel. No one had. And I was earning some good money from those stolen videos with Google AdSense.
Oh no, that's crazy, man.
Yeah. So I was doing all that. So after, at some point, that I got some really big exclusive covers first on the Fashion Spot, some members or admins, they told me, okay, you are the member. So they made me not admin, but like
you had like the blue tick.
Yeah, I had like something more like a priority. I could post more. I had some little bit of privilege compared to other like normal members. And at some point, then I also started to find all the editorials first, and I was going to the websites when started to happen. Websites were always then became a thing. It's already 2010, 11. When the agencies who were representing stylists and photographers, they started to put out the work of their artists much earlier than it would come actually on the newsstands. So I found the Streeters website or Management Artists or all these websites where I would find maybe they had some nail artist who worked on the shoot for Giselle, but they had a cover of Vogue Italia, which was something we were all waiting for earlier than Vogue Italia's website. So I digged all this into this. And at some point, I had the post count of around 20,000 posts in 3 years. Wow. Because I became one of the most active members, because as I told, I had half other day free. And I sometimes even said no for the night out with my friends because I knew there was cover coming that night that I wanted to find and share. And I even had some sellers on eBay agreed writing in a message because they somehow would get the American Vogue issue earlier than on the newsstands as a subscriber. And I was already placing the order for that issue to get.
Oh my God.
But in a promise that they would send me the picture with the phone so I could start the new discussion for this new issue. And at some point I realized that I wanted to create something that was mine and not to spend so much time for someone other's platform.
It's kind of a business move.
Yes, yeah, because I actually then thought when I found that, okay, I can make some money with if I create a blog on Blogspot, if I do create something on WordPress, I could have like some nice blog, website, everything, so that I had my YouTube channel, which at some point had 27,000 subscribers.
Wow, at that time that would be like a million.
I mean, incredible, because I woke up one morning and saw that Naomi reshared one of the videos. I mean, she didn't know. She just saw the video of one of her magazine shoots, and obviously she shared it on Twitter, and it had so many views. Then I shared some Justin Bieber's Calvin Klein debut campaign, and it was a thing, and also Daily Mail. I mean, they were kind of watching me and sharing lots of videos from my channel if it was about the celebrity. So I came to the point that I created my website on Tumblr, which was called Glossy Newsstand, which tells you what... Which tells you like what it is. So it's about the glossy magazines. So it was super logical to have this title. So I created this website and moved all my exclusives and covers to my page. And now on the Fashion Spot, they would start discussion with the source coming from my page.
That's nice.
So I was still the source for them, but they were now crediting me.
The traffic was going to you.
Then I put the advertising, fashion advertising there. You Google this automated advertising and stuff. And there was a time when I was earning, let's say, like from 1,000 to 2,000 euros in a month. Which was like
huge for you.
Very, very good money. Wow. Then I got few like blogs of my channels and deletion of the channels, obviously from YouTube, because some magazines then created their own channels and the music copyright. So it became a little bit different. So I had this thing for 2.5 years, and my blog reached around 2 million unique views.
Wow.
Because my main source to bring the audience was Twitter at that time, because there was no Instagram. So I would post my link to the post of new cover exclusive or editorial directly on my Twitter page, which was also called Glossy Newsstand, and tag everyone from photographer to the nail artist to the hairdresser to the casting manager.
We love that. Because
I appreciate it, because these are the people who, I mean, obviously usually credit photographer, model, stylist, but there is so much more happening. And that was something that I realized in my next chapter of life, which is coming next, what I'm gonna tell to you.
But I feel like you've realized that quite early when you like were digging and trying to find everyone on the shoot to find the picture.
Because they were so happy when I was sharing like nail artist work that, oh my God, someone was writing me. I never had someone sharing my work and credit me similar way as a photographer. And I remember, I think Mary Howard, who was the set designer behind all the Steven Meisel's Vogue Italia shoots, and they were creating incredible, such a like almost like real life forest inside the studio in New York, or like incredible backgrounds. You felt it was shot outside.
Yeah.
And when I was crediting her, when I was the people who worked on something super small but so important for the shoot, they were so happy. And one of the main points that I forgot to mention, on the same times it's happening that I'm buying all these magazines, and all my money that I earn does not go to clothing or fun or nights out or anything. It just goes to magazines, and mostly more for the shipping price of the magazines rather than the magazine actually, because I'm buying mostly from US. And the crazier thing that eBay accepted only PayPal that time. Georgia was accepted to PayPal only 2 years ago. So 10 years ago, I had at some point non-legal ways to find out how to put money on the PayPal account, all these VPNs and stuff. To connect my card, which was the branch of the Ukrainian bank in Georgia. That was the only reason why PayPal accepted and the card went through. So I was putting money on someone Ukrainian's balance, and she was in exchange putting money on my PayPal. We found each other on some money exchange website just to buy the magazines.
You really trusted that person.
I mean, when once happened, second time happened, we became like a partners for 3 years. And I was paying crazy money for the magazines. I mean, I was buying the current issues and also old issues. And I remember when I turned 18, the only thing I wanted to get for me, the few issues of Vogue Paris and Vogue US and W magazine, which I loved. I mean, it was my favorite at the time. And I spent $300 for just 4 issues of the magazines because they were in the US. But when they arrived and I opened and I smelled them, I mean, I would pay double and triple more for that feeling that I had that time. So even now, I had more than 1,000, maybe 1,500 magazines in my hometown, which my father every week asks, do you really need them? Because it's really taking a lot of space there, and I need this space for his stuff. But recently he got the new place for his car, so he has some more storage there. So I thought just put it in the boxes, because there will be one day when I will bring all these magazines to my final base place in Europe or wherever I will be living, because this is where I come from. This is where all started. So I cannot
get rid of them.
Just throw them. I feel like I spent, let's say, 30,000 around during 10 years to collect all these magazines. So it's a lot of money, but it's my feelings and emotions, and I know exactly the day and the feeling and which magazine, why I bought and how much I paid, even the sellers where I bought from them, and then our negotiations that went through to make magazine coming from like $75 to like $50, because I had to pay then another $50 just for shipping from US to Georgia, which is 14 hours of flight. So imagine the price of the shipping that time.
It's crazy.
So this was another chapter when I became not a blogger in its understanding, but it was when the blogging was happening, but I was just sharing work of others. And there was a moment when I thought, okay, I also have opinion. Maybe I want to share what I think about that. And when I started this, Katie Grant approached me. She found me through Twitter when she had just launched the Love magazine.
Okay.
And she told me that I found some of the editorials which she has not even seen completely, because I mean, she approved obviously everything, but the final versions, which I found on some websites of the nail artist who worked on the shoot.
You're big on nail artist.
Yes.
Yes. So she told me, like, how do you do that? How are you so fast? And she always remember her words. She told me, you are faster than the speed of light, because we know it's the
Yes.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So she told me, maybe you want to do some collabs, so maybe you want to do the review for the September issues when it was still the thing for the Love website. So I did that.
Nice.
And as a gift in exchange, she sent me all the issues of Love magazine that was out before that time, like 5 issues already.
That's nice.
Every cover option, it was like 15 kilograms of the package. But it was more than any money that she could pay for me, because it was the most important gift that I ever got during that time. And I still keep all the issues because it connects to my first like article of the review that I create, such a big title. That was Love magazine.
Yeah.
So it became the first time when I started to speak about the things, because I knew English enough already to start a discussion about that. And then Fashion Week in Georgia started. That's 2013 when Fashion Week starts. And now I discovered the fashion shows already before, I mean, in TV. Yeah. And then I see, okay, I want actually to attend fashion shows, and since it's happening in Georgia, maybe I can go there. So I applied to get the accreditation to go there, and everyone thought I was some foreign blogger. So they all sent me invitations because they saw my blog is in English, and I wrote the email in English to look more like professional and like more cool in a way. And they all invited me. They thought I was like some super important guy. And when I went there, they realized I was like very basically dressed, like in a denim and like blue shirt and like basic bomber jacket. And they gave me like good seats on the shows. And that was the point when I met someone at one of the shows, where in 2 weeks I started working, and that's another 10 years of my life until, let's say, this year, which when I finally left that company where I worked for 10 years.
Okay. Because you graduated at that time, and then you were looking for jobs? Or?
I also graduated master's degree in strategic communications. I already knew about fashion. I was already in the age of 21, 22. So I was doing all the presentations and all the theses and all the stuff about fashion brands already. And my lecturers knew that I was like the fashion guy in this classroom. And they all were always expecting that I would do something about Prada or Chanel or Dior. So that was my responsibility. But it was interesting those 2 years, because we had some of the people who were our teachers, who some of them were the leads of the biggest telecommunications company in Georgia, like the PR head of them. One minister of the former minister of education of Georgia. So I met really good people there, and just to find out their experience, I realized that I needed the experience to find out what was fashion actually. And even they were telling, I mean, we just came there to share our experience. We cannot teach you from the books, because this is something that was written like 30 years ago, and it obviously does not happen like that anymore. Like all these marketing rules or the pyramids and everything. I mean, everything is broken right now. So that was the time that I see this fashion. I need to explore and find out, do I really want to work in this industry? Because again, I knew I wanted to work there, but I did not know what I wanted to do. To be a journalist, or to be a photographer, stylist, like administration or showroom assistant or anything. So in one of the fashion shows, I met a girl who is the same 1 year older than me. her name is Anuki, and she was just starting her fashion brand. She was just finished her studies in Marangoni in Milan. So she has seen the Europe. She was the former model. She was into fashion already, but she wanted to explore this in Georgia because her family, her husband and the kids live there. So I just met her at the show. We were seated close to each other, and I came to her and told that I wanted to do an interview with her as one of, she's the wife of one of the most famous men in Georgia. That's why lots of eyes were already on her. So from the point of view to make my blog also interesting for Georgians, I also choose her. I wanted to know what she was doing, but she's kind of a Victoria Beckham situation in Georgia because her husband is footballer and they have 4 kids. So it's very, very similar, and they look beautiful, and it's a good family. So from this point of view, I already thought maybe it could also bring more readers, and so Georgian people would also find out about me, because obviously I have to find a job in fashion here in Georgia. So this interview never happened actually, but our job interview happened because she did not have time because I sent her questions, but she didn't have time to reply me. And she told me, okay, let's have a meeting so you can ask me directly all this stuff. And when we started, I prepared the questions. I was super nervous, even though she was super friendly from the start. And first thing what she asked was like, are you hungry? I just want to order McDonald's. So she really made the situation comfortable for me, because she saw how nervous, stressed I was. And she told me on the second question, okay, I'm starting the brand, so maybe you want to work for me or with me? And I said yes immediately. I did not know what she was offering, but I said yes. So first thing what I did was to find the model for the lookbook shoot and organize the shoot, which I had no idea how to do. But she gave me the contact of the modeling agency model, so I just had to manage and bring these people. And because of my responsibility that I mentioned earlier, I did it well because everyone came on time, and I organized my first ever fashion shoot.
Nice.
And in 1 month, she told me she was opening the store in Tbilisi, and she wanted to help to set up the store. I'm 21 years old that time. 21, yeah. And we rent the store. She rents the store. I manage all the stuff, like administrational stuff, like to have the electricity and everything. But I'm waiting where the fashion starts, because there is so much logistics you have to do in fashion. And at some point she tells me, okay, we have to do our first fashion show. So I said, okay, here we go. So, but then when I realized it was my responsibility to do that fashion show.
That's a huge responsibility.
Oh my God. And we did it after 6 months of our brand establishment. We opened the store, and actually we did our first fashion show not in Tbilisi but in Kiev, because she had also the store already in Kiev, because she had the concept store before she started her own brand. So she had all these connections and everything. And we wanted someone big to bring that time, and we just sit randomly, and she said like, I like Irina Shayk so much, and she was not that high fashion that time. She was breaking from this like swimwear model girl, becoming like the fashion model when she got like first Vogue cover, I think for Vogue Mexico or Vogue Spain. And they had some friendly connections with her actually. Husband footballer, and there was the footballer. So it happened actually super easily.
Okay,
so
nice.
we brought her at the show, and when I remember this time, I was myself holding the dress for her. We just went to her hotel room. She was super friendly, so I had to fit a dress on her myself, and I could not believe, but I was feeling that I was in fashion already. I was living the fashion moment that I was only seeing in fashion TV that time. So this happened. Then we did a fashion show in Georgia, and for 2 years we made a really good sales and collections in Georgia. And then there came time for the Paris showroom, Paris sales. We started to come to Paris, bring our collections, and usual fashion routine situation. Yeah. And in the first season, we got ordered from the biggest stores in Asia, from Harvey Nichols to Isetan in Japan and the Rare Market in Seoul. So, I mean, and then I went back in Georgia and suddenly I realized I had to produce all this stuff and it was not for fun. And I did not know how and where to do because we just had 2 women working for us who were doing all these clothes. Wow. And I had also 500 pairs of shoes to be produced. And when I went to the shoe factory, they told that they don't do that much of shoes even in 1 year, let alone for 1 season, for one brand.
So you had to change the whole production.
I had to order the boxes and to register like the trademarks because the Hong Kong people told us if you don't register the brand trademark in Hong Kong, we cannot sell brand here. So I had to find all this stuff and
like a brand manager, like CEO.
I became on the age of 22 and a half, not even 23. The brand manager and the CEO of the brand working closely, and I went through 2 pregnancies of my designer where she was almost absent from the work because she could not come when she was not feeling well. So I had to be the one from the WhatsApp to send the button options and sometimes even decide for her because if it was something super simple, not like in a design way.
Yeah.
Because she was the designer. But I had to take responsibility starting from the production, ordering boxings, taking fabric from the big truck to the inside to the office because we were such a small staff. And I was feeling the responsibility that I have to do everything and control to do everything in a good way because I don't need people. I can do this all myself.
Yeah.
And I was also planning the shoot, concept, model, production, photographer, and then the cleaning the shoots after the shoot from the dirt.
Yeah.
And 2006, but I was enjoying.
But I was about to ask, were you enjoying it?
I was enjoying with every minute of removing the dirt and this shoe looking beautiful again because I was something that I put all my heart and soul inside. And at some point in 2015, it was this end of December, we got the email from Vogue Italia, Sara Maino. She was sending email that, you are chosen to be part of the Vogue Next Talent contest and you have to come in Milan. I thought it's a spam. We did not apply for anything. Why we got this email? So I ignored this.
Oh, wow.
2 days after, she called in the office. So, are you serious that you don't reply to my email? Because we are actually from Vogue Italia. It's the time when Franca Sosani is still there. And you are invited next month. You have to come to Milan because we have a project with Yox and your collection will be sold there. Wow. And everyone in fashion who is anyone will come and see your collections. And I looked to my designer, and Milan is different thing because she met her husband there and Milan is like second home for them. So she was so happy and I was jumping from the happiness, but then again I was thinking, okay, but
I have
how to produce
everything.
Because we made a special collection for this contest, but we met Anna Wintour there.
Wow.
And when we arrived in Milan, our brand name, since it was starting with A, we were always the first in every exhibition, in every contest. Yes. So we had the first pressure to put on ourselves when the guest was coming. We were the first ones to greet them everywhere. So then someone is like screaming, oh my God, she came, she's there. I was like, who came? And we went out and you can always recognize her haircut. She was standing from the back. And that was another moment when I realized I was living another big fashion moment for me, for our brand. And I managed to take the picture when she was speaking to our designer, and she spent like 3.5 minutes on our corner, which was a
lot of time
that she did with compared to other designers. And this picture on the next few days brought us 20 or 25 more retailers around the world. Overnight success. because everyone suddenly saw that, Italian Vogue, American Vogue covered us, and we were again the first brand in every list. So they also probably really liked
We're
what
back
we
to the
did.
lucky part, huh?
Again.
Of course.
And another pressure, because at one season now I had to produce around 1,500 pieces of clothing in 3 months, because then we started producing resort collections. The first Georgian brand to do this. We were the first brand.
Wow.
Because we like to put more pressure on us. We were never satisfied what we did.
Yeah.
So I started this life of traveling around Europe, bringing collections myself with 3 or 4 suitcases, and being the showroom salesman myself, because no one would describe the collection to the buyer or the press like me, not even the designer, because she told me, I cannot speak about my collection that much that you do. And she was also, I was also lucky again that she was also that time becoming kind of an influencer, because she's the most popular woman in Georgia even today, and most fashionable it girl of that time.
Yeah.
And she had some connection with the big fashion brands and everything. So she got invited to many fashion shows, and she always had a +1, but for her husband. And we were kind of, the someone who is at the door does not know how her husband looks. If it says Monsieur, or if it says Mr., it could be me.
Yes.
So I was her husband at the shows of Dior Couture, Valentino Couture, or Balenciaga. Almost front row in many places, because she was kind of a big client also for some brands. So they really appreciated her. But that was the time when she brought me to the first show. It was Valentino Couture Spring Summer 15. When Pier Paolo and Maria Grazia were still together there. It was a collection inspired by Africa.
Oh, yes.
And there was a crazy party in the hotel, the Rothschild, after the show, where I saw the people closest I've ever seen. I was dancing next to Anna Della Russa and Pier Paolo together on the same party. And this was another moment where I felt I'm in the right place, because I like the atmosphere. I like the people. I like what they were wearing, what we eat here, what's the vibe here. So every time I was pushing her, I took over of her email, and I was sending all the emails to the brands on behalf of her. Of course, she knew all this stuff, that every time I thought she was wearing particular brand, like 3 or 5 pieces, maybe they can invite you to the show. So at some point, everyone always invited her, and mostly we got +1. So I was lucky already that time, again, to attend some of the... I went to Chanel when it was Dream, when Carl was still there. It was the show when they had a data center inside the Grand Palais. I went to Maria Grazia's first ever Dior Couture show. I went to Balenciaga on the water show, the last one before the pandemic started.
Yeah,
and I lived so many moments, but still I was always the +1. I was never me invited there. So that time, our brand was already doing strong. We had all the employees, and now we had almost 70 people working for us. So I was not doing everything that time. And at some point, also when I realized I had more ideas than this brand could fit, I created with my friend my creative agency, which still exists today. It's called Arial Bold, the most simple font in the computer, but simple things, but make it bold. So we created that, and I technically left the company I was working for, because I did not want to do financing, showroom sales and everything, but brought one of my best friends, the better professional than me, to manage all this stuff in Georgia. So, but we took care of all the shootings and productions. We started productions of the shoots, runways and everything. So then other Georgian brands came. We produced shows for them. And then one day I produced, then international brands started to open their stores in Georgia, but I mean H&M, Zara, Massimo Dutti, but I mean we don't have any luxury brand in Georgia until today even.
Okay.
I mean monobrand store. And they came, and at some point we did the H&M X Giambattista Valli launch event in Georgia.
Yes.
My agency, because it was the biggest event ever until that time that we did, and the biggest budget ever that we had to do stuff. And it was the international company trusting us, but they saw our work on our Instagram. I mean, they were attending Georgian Fashion Week, and they found like, who are these people doing all this? Because we always be lucky again to have work with the brand who had more budgets, to be completely honest, to produce shows in a crazy place like we closed the gate in the international airport of Georgia. So we did a show in the airport, the only runway show, which was my forever dream since I showed the Chanel show from 2007. I was like, I will do the show in the airport one day. So I did. And we did the show in the Central Park of Tbilisi, but we had these connections and possibilities because these brands could afford this.
Yes.
Because I mean, we had Ariel ideas, but we wanted to make it bold.
Yes.
So then H&M became one of our biggest regular clients. Until today, we do all the events that H&M does, and all the campaigns is handled by my agency in Georgia, taken care by my friend Anna, who is now in charge of all this stuff. But we founded agency together. And pandemic started, and obviously we canceled every project. And we also had some small foreign brands sending their clothes just to shoot in Georgia, because it's still very cheap to produce shoot in Georgia. Even today you can produce 10 shoots with the price of one shoot, what it costs here, even for like the medium-sized brand in Paris or any European city. And we still do that. I mean, lots of brands, especially from Gulf countries, from Saudi Arabia, from Dubai, from Qatar, from Kuwait, they send a lot of stuff because they also like the creative direction that we do, and they also order us to creative direct their campaign, not just shoot.
Yeah.
And then we had some Japanese brands, some American brands also approach us. Then we started working for the only luxury brand, multi-brand store in Georgia. And it was the first time when I had a chance to style and shoot all the Celines and Dior's and Balenciaga, and even The Row. They stock The Row in Georgia, and it's one of the best-selling brand there.
Wow,
that's crazy.
Yes, it's still fascinates me that it sells faster than Dior.
Yeah, very surprising.
The most basic, super high quality. I mean, I love The Row and what they stand for, but in Georgia, the price tag compared what's the currency exchange rate,
and no logo.
That's the thing.
No one knows what you're wearing.
Yes.
But Georgia, they don't care. I mean, they want to wear this most basic shirt, but they know that they paid like 3K on that. And so we started working for them, and we are doing great, and we had a good income. Pandemic started. We have lots of canceled projects, and we just spent all the money that we collected before pandemic. And our agency is the first fashion production agency ever in Georgia, because we invented this, that fashion can have its own dedicated agency that they can take care of. And it's pandemic, it's a peak of laziness and doing nothing. And that's the time when Style.com is born.
Oh, so can you tell us a bit more about that?
It's the summer of 2021 when it's pandemic is in very action, but we kind of see that here and there things are starting to come back in a way. And I spend most of my time watching everything 10 times about fashion, including all the old Style.com videos, which I obviously watched before, but to go back there. And what's the funniest thing is that the name Style.com came to me 2015 when it closed, the same day when it was announced that it was shut down. and Farfetch got this domain redirected to them. It was the day I thought, okay, style.com is no more, so it's style.com. It's kind of playing of words. So I printed this on a t-shirt.
Really?
No way.
And I was wearing it in Paris on the showroom when I was selling my brand. And the people who were coming to see the brand, they were all looking to my t-shirt and saying, oh my God, this is so funny. This is so good. I mean, we like this. But I kept this name and I did not know, where to use this. Would I do like clothing line as a nostalgia of style.com? Would I do a website, blog, or whatever it would be? But I knew at one point I wanted to use that. So, and one of those people who thought it was funny, it was Sarah Andelman, who came to see some of the brands in our showroom. She did not order our brand because it was not very Colette style, but she looked at my t-shirt and I don't know if she remembers that, but she also smiled, and it already meant a lot for me that Sarah Andelman smiled on a t-shirt that I made it.
Was it already blue?
It was a white t-shirt, but with just a black print. Okay. There was no blue there. So I'm at my home and I'm discussing some stuff with my friend, and they always tell me that even this experience that now I tell to you, that working in Georgian fashion, this is so interesting even for them, even if they see my daily life. They told maybe it's also interesting for others to read or listen about this. So why don't you do something? And I mean, even I thought about this myself, but I didn't know what should be the right format. I did not want to start the old style classic blog because I want to do one of those things simple, but in a bold way. And I wanted to do something that no one would have to click and go to my profile, click link in there and go to some website that will redirect you somewhere that you can article about what I
consume
write.
It directly.
I mean, it takes time. Especially if it's new. I mean, it's my religion that every morning I wake up, WWD, Business of Fashion.
Yes.
Like, I mean, this is that's natural, but no one would go to my newly created website, obviously. And then at the same time, I was missing all this old fashion videos and watching them. I was missing Colette Store, of course, which was like a church where, I mean, I was not going and praying there, but it was something. I mean, I've never been to church that many times that I've been to Colette in my life, honestly. And going to church is something that for Georgians is very common. And growing as a child, my grandmother used to bring me there all the weekends. But I'm telling you, Paris, I spent the most time there, and I was always booking the hotel around Colette, so I would just have excuse that, I just have to walk there every day, so why don't I go there inside and buy another small silly stuff for someone, but very important emotional thing for me. So their color was blue, and it's one of my favorite color. And before Colette was closed, they were selling the smell of Colette for 32 euros in a small bottle. And in the time of pandemic, when I was just enjoying myself, having something to do, like candles and stuff, I was just having opening this bottle to have a smell and reconnect with the feelings of that time. And then I was watching style.com, then Colette everything. So I went to Instagram, and actually I spent a few weeks to find this format that you see now, because first I started to do the long text on a slide, but my friends told me this is interesting, but it's like a bit too long. And then I was, okay, maybe I will write it short and then ask people to go to the stories and then read there. But stories expires in 24 hours. So it was a thinking of what would be the directly consumable content. And it was the one day when I just see in TV or somewhere that someone just says the phrase like Paris is capital of France. I mean, it was a joke of someone there. And I said, oh my God, this is so silly. Of course, we know that, but so how funny maybe it could be if I say Chanel is a French fashion brand. And if I would write it, maybe, but I mean, I did not care. It was my page, so I could just write whatever I wanted. And I did not think that in 2 weeks, it would be Loic Prigent, whose videos I was watching 24 hours alongside with style.com videos, that he would become my follower and started liking my posts 2 weeks after that.
Yeah.
And his like is kind of approval for me because we speak a lot of stuff with the same language. I mean, he's something who I look after still and will be probably forever. And I wrote this about Chanel. Then I wrote about like Gucci is an Italian brand. And then like silly stuff that Princess Cooler is the name of their mothers and like some obvious stuff that was on the table, but everyone knew, but kind of was not explained that what means the W in JW Anderson. I wanted to know, so I started to research this stuff and put this on there. And then I found this formula of making it square and putting logo because I like this logical, organized, clean, slick stuff. So I started doing that, and end of the same month, I went to I faked the COVID vaccination document.
Bad.
Just to get into Paris because I only had like one done and I had to have two to come to Paris. But somehow, strangely enough, Switzerland was accepting this vaccine that I did. So, but I still had to fake some date to be setting some criteria. But I went to Zurich and crossed the border of European Union that I could travel through the train from there because no one would check on the way because I had actually some business stuff to do for the brand I was working for, but I kind of risked myself because it was one of the peak of COVID that time. But when physical fashion shows came back first time, September 21, and I came to Paris and had the chance through my friend to go to this red carpet Balenciaga show.
Okay.
I literally snacked in there because it was like super, I mean, it was kind of easy, luck again. But I went there and it was one of the most show with the most guests that they ever had. So I had the chance to go there and I started live posting from there what was happening there at the show, like Simpsons at Balenciaga, like Cardi became now at Balenciaga, standing ovations and like all this stuff. Then there was a Copernicus show, which I could not go when they had this hemp field at the show, but they invited me at the after party. And that was the time when I posted something about Mika, who was dancing at the, like to say that Mika is shining even in the dark club room. And she reposted that, and Copernicus guys liked and reposted that. So it kind of took off that time, but when I was really experiencing that stuff. So in 2 months, I had 5K followers. In 4 months, I had 15. In 3, I had 30. And in 6, I had like almost 100,000 followers.
Wow.
In like 6-7 months.
And now it's 250, right? Or more?
201.
Okay.
200,000.
Okay.
But it was then comes January 2022. And now brands start to write me, oh, maybe you are coming to Paris because we want you to attend the shows, because they tell me like, if you have so many emotions, just not attending the show and covering still and finding the details of the shows, I mean, we want to see what you would do when you actually go to the show. So it was Amy Paris, one of the first shows, who they accepted me. A few hours before the show, I took a risk and paid a lot of money for the ticket to come to Paris, not knowing which shows I would get. But I felt that I could go to some place, because everyone told me this is super last minute, but we want you to have you. But some of the brands still have this old kind of formula of inviting people, and if they don't really trust directly, but Army people trusted me, and Louis Vuitton trusted me, and they invited me to the show, which was the first show after Virgil's death, when Naomi walked, and they had this crazy show. So they invited me there. So I covered all live, and few brands told me, oh my God, you are Paris. We did not know. We would also love to invite you. And then I left Paris because honestly, I had only the budget to stay for 3 days. I was not prepared to stay longer. I needed money for some other stuff. So I came back to Georgia, but then it was the email of Clara Cornet of Instagram who changed everything, because she told me, hi Becca, this is Clara from Instagram. We love you and we want to talk to you. And just this message was already a thing that, okay, I got noticed by Instagram itself, because I'm not on any other platform still today and I don't plan to go anywhere. And she told me that you are the subject of discussion on Instagram, in Instagram office. Me, Eva, like everyone who is like taking care of fashion, we talk a lot about you. So we want to help you, what we can do for you. And she, told me already that she could help me to get to the more shows, because, when she writes the email and recommends someone, the brands already know that it's something that they can trust and give a chance to have access to the show. So when she found that I sent almost the full Paris Fashion Week calendar to her, and not just few brands, because I said, okay, I have a chance, so I will try send every brand's name. And, of course, and whatever
what
happens,
gets me.
Before she got the email, I already had few brands approached by themselves asking me if I was coming to Paris, and they wanted to invite me, and also from Milan. And but some of the brands Clara said, and she wrote around 15 or 20 emails to each brand separately in their way, because you have to speak differently with different brands. And every brand said yes immediately on the same day. Wow. So on the February 22 Paris Fashion Week, I attended every single show. It's still like, I have still goosebumps when I...
It's like a dream come true.
That some shows were like last minute confirmations, but I was there. For the first season, to see so much love and attention and opening so many doors that time, it was incredible, and still is for me. But it was a time when the war started in Ukraine, and the day when I'm arriving in Milan for my first dream fashion week, it's the war is starting, and it's the Prada show on the day of when Russia attacked Ukraine. And I don't know what to do. So for 3-4 days, I stopped posting and just start sharing the stuff in my stories, how to help Ukraine in through various countries, where to bring the stuff, clothes, money, how to donate to help, because I have friends waking up and sending me videos how the building in front of them is bombed, and I have to go to the fashion show, so I don't feel comfortable. I'm thinking only about what's happening there, because being Georgian and...
Of course, you have this relationship.
Same background. And after a few days, when situation... it's a bad thing to say, but we get let's say, we're not used to everything, and it kind of became normal to have a war in Ukraine. And now at some point I became kind of a speaker for them, because I was wearing the Ukrainian flag pin on everything, just to show a little bit of support and people to get reminded about what's happening. And some people thought I was Ukrainian, so they were coming and asking to me what was the situation. So I was giving the information as much as I could. But then on the Monday morning, when I came to Paris, I met with Clara and Lucien Pages at the Ritz. We had the pre-Fashion Week drinks, and Lucien told me that get ready for tomorrow, because it's Paris Fashion Week is starting and everyone is waiting to you, because no one knows how you look, who you are, and how would you cover in your way the Fashion Week. So in the morning that started, and it's still going. That's until today. So it's still crazy to think. And when I speak, the people who took so many years to get a seat or even standing from the old years of fashion or blogging, they tell me that you are so lucky to have such a short welcome in the fashion industry compared to what they went through. And when I ask to people why I got so easily, why they took me so well and so quickly, I heard few things, the similar things, and one of them most heard what they tell me, that I think it was the Pam boy who was the first one who told me that he told me, like, I love your love for fashion. So they kind of, through all the things that I told to you, through my experience, the things I've done to go and find the fashion fix for me, and find the things, even would it be a magazine cover or like cleaning these shoes from the dirt, because I knew it would bring me to the places where I wanted. This is the thing why the doors were open, and in 1 year and a half of since my account was created until it's gonna be 2 years in September this year.
Okay.
I went to incredible places, from Milan to Paris to Marrakesh to St. Moritz, to like everywhere around the world in the fashion. And every day I feel so lucky, and sometimes I was like thinking, like have like not normal thinking. I mean, I don't know, maybe I have a short life and God's giving me all these things to experience. No, I mean, really, because
I don't know, because I feel like you think it's an overnight success, but I'm really, really happy that you came here to tell everything about your story.
Not what I was expecting at all.
Because it's actually been over 10 years. So, and it took a lot of work. It took a lot of like passion and, you know, like digging and, you know, like resilience and everything. So me personally, I stopped believing in luck at a time when I was telling people I'm lucky, they were like, no, you get lucky once, maybe. If you get lucky several times, it's not luck anymore.
I don't know. Maybe someone told me something similar. But still, I mean, unbelievable things happened to me. In 1 year, I got approached to do, let's say, around 50 interviews. I mean, people want to interview me when actually I'm the one who wants to interview and ask questions to people, and they want me to ask the questions and find out all this. And I remember when I saw the article about me on the Cut, New York Times, or then on BOF, or when my picture printed in the magazine, in Vogue magazine, few copies I received a few weeks ago, like German Vogue, Japanese Vogue, which I have all issues religiously. I would never think I would be there. In them. I was imagining maybe I would write something for them. They would be pleased.
Contributor.
Them writing about me, I would never think. And then the book, another realization of my dream was that when I met the people from the System magazine, Mike, he asked me like, I like your work and what you want to do in print. And I shared this idea that I want to do the print version of my page. And he believed in me. And we did this book that you're going to see. And this was one of my also dream projects because it's not a magazine, it's not a book, because a few people commented that, oh my God, you are kidding with us and you are joking. And at some point, I mean, as lots of people say, we don't have to take fashion too seriously and we don't have to save the lives.
No.
We just attend the shows, we just wear the clothes and comment on that. But this is something very me, something super simple, but it just tells you the fashion history of last year, long story told short. And if you are interested, go and get, or if some people were like, we cannot buy, but I sent to them the book, like my followers, like few people, and they, I mean, if you are interested, go and check and browse and buy. And if you don't, just ignore that. It's the same for my page. But I never expecting that I would have so much interest and so many eyes on me. And to be honest, I kind of missed that time when at the start, when I had like less pressure. And I mean, I'm still enjoying what I do, but you have to sometimes think a lot more, because there are so many people standing behind the brands. And if you share the information, I mean, not to find the right words, but at least to fact check the stuff, because there are people who worked on this, and not to have something wrong, because the audience has grown so much for me. I just feel responsibility on that way, but I still feel that I like to share all this super stupid, at some point silly stuff, but you would be surprised how this stuff gets so much attention. Like last week, I again not tested but realized how people are still into that easy fun stuff when I did a post about a Loewe Pixel post in pixels.
Yeah, that was super cool.
I mean, I saw the stuff, it was the first thing that came to my mind, and I went to the Photoshop that they made it into pixels, but I have so many these silly ideas. I need just a good graphic designer to do it, because it can't be always like I mean, I have some few ideas how I want to develop, and because lots of people ask him like, what's next, but I'm not bored of this yet. It's been just a year and a half. When I get bored,
I'll do something else.
I mean, the book
I'll let you know.
Book is already new stuff. I mean, it's something new. It's the print version that you can keep forever. So it's going to come out every year. So you have like fashion in 2022, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Nice.
Like, even it will look nice when you put on your bookshelf. Like, all the numbers. It's very me. I like this. And 22 was the first, another big year after pandemic, when everything was really back. And when you open the book, it says that it's the book about my first big year and dream year in fashion. And it's literally a book about myself and my journey. But so many people, actually, I'm shocked when so many people go and buy. I mean, still, it's unbelievable for me still to buy the book. Like my followers, they go and send me the pictures of their favorite pages, and they tell me this book gives them so much inspiration, because it at some point shows the journey, how I'm excited to see Style Not Conventional, the name on the same page when I got my personal invitation, or when I first met Tim Blanks at Bottega show last February, and he told me that I remind him best years of his life when I post the old style.com flashback videos. And to get this people so much love, at some point when I want to try to explain to someone this is really so much, and so many things happened to me in this year and a half. There are not enough words, and I can never be thankful enough to all these people, because all these PRs, all these guys who work backstage on the fashion shows and editorials, they are the people who actually, I write the emails and they dig to find the confirmations for me, not the designer. So since I was that guy who was doing all this job, I see and appreciate their work so much more than maybe others' works, because I mean, designer comes and takes the credit for everything, and there are lots of genius designers whose vision then they make realize, but without these people behind and their hands and their minds, because there are so many talented people just working. They just need a space to start somewhere, starting in a low position. But when I see someone appointed to the bigger position in some brand and PR, I'm always happy to announce that.
Yeah. Because you see the journey.
Yeah, because it's me. I feel that this guy is me, because I would feel the same if I was moving from some brand, become the worldwide head of PR, or some big brand who I know the stories they were always dreaming for. So every day it's a new excitement and experience, and until I have fun, I want to do it again and again.
Okay, cool.
That's one thing that I really noticed about your account, and that's something that I really appreciate. If you compare it to like social media, it can be a really nasty place, and with you, I feel like it always comes from a place of love. It's always very kind and very positive. So really, really appreciate that.
Yeah, I feel sometimes they call me like the feel-good page.
Yeah.
But there is already so much negativity and the critique everywhere. I just want to put accent on what's the fact, what's positive, and to make people smile and happy. And so why not?
That's nice. It's the thing that it's giving anyways.
Yeah.
How do you work now? Because you were telling us you were digging, and when you had your first blogging era, you were always digging and finding the information. How do you work now? Do all the brands send you the information? Or because you were just mentioning that you were, growing relationships with all the PR departments and everything.
So I learned the lesson that if I want to find the information, something and comes to my mind, if I catch, I should immediately go and check and find, because it's something that came to my mind in that moment. But if there are the mixed information on the internet and the years and numbers are different, I stop thinking and just writing the email directly to the PR. And sometimes I found the facts that they did not know about this particular detail for the brand. So I directly just send them the facts to check, and I'm so lucky again that they all answer, at least if they can answer on that or not. I always get the reply. Sometimes some information really takes the long time to find out, but I mean, the big brands who are the most like top brands in the world, they have departments who takes care of archives, and these are the people who I love. And I mean, they give me the information. They have a records of the guests of each show of the brand, or how many people, the most guests attending to the show, or what was the number, the look that took the most time to be made. Let's say for Chanel, there's a jacket that took like 2,552 hours of making.
So you get those information.
Yes.
Yeah.
But sometimes if I see something from the brand's official website, but it's written in a small place, it's official, so I don't ask the brand.
Yeah.
And I just go directly. But I started now to go and read lots of old articles of, let's say, the New York Times, because the fashion reviews of the Times, you find so much information. Like recently I found that before Marc Jacobs started to work for Perry Ellis as a designer, at the age of 14 or 15, he went to the place where he was working, Perry, and he asked for an autograph because he liked what he was doing. And I just found this fact last week. Then the fact that Miuccia Prada, even if she was wearing the clothes of her own from the start, she ordered her wedding outfit to the children's boutique
Section?
in Milan.
Oh my God.
Which was called the Ferrari Sisters store on the Via Billy in Milan. And she just made the custom in her sizing, of course. So she was not wearing Prada at her wedding. But it was written in the March issue of 94 of the New York Times. But you kind of have to know how to search,
find the information.
tools.
Yeah.
But I really have big ears as well, and I heard so much information at the conversation or the dinners or at the shows.
Yeah.
But if it's something too personal, I never share. Even if it's could affect some person's personality or career or something, I would never. But if I know that that person can get the humor about that,
Yes.
I'm okay with that. But with the big brands, because I had like few fails when the information that I shared was not right. But it's a lesson learned.
Yeah.
So I have to just fact check, but brands are happy to give me the information. Sometimes also some exclusives, but we just have an embargo before some specific time, because even now I have some infos that I can only share after 1 month, but they trust me because if they tell me if it's NDA, then it's...
Yeah, you don't do anything with it.
Yeah. So it's a lot of reading. I go back to my magazine archives. So I read the interviews. There is always some info that does not make headline of that magazine, but I find it and put it. And when you put it on the blue square on the headline, it gets a different... Attention.
Yeah. Talking about attention, I feel like for brands, you became like kind of a platform for them.
Yes.
Do you start getting like paid posts and advertising, because you could be perceived as also advertising platform?
So I cannot hide that, because I obviously had to leave all the job that I had in Georgia because it takes so much time. And now the situation is that when some brands, let's say, wants to share information and they think it's something that I can make in my words,
of course,
and is suitable for my platform, and they want guaranteed coverage of this news, maybe that I would cover myself, but they're not sure. They're like, we want this, but we thought it could interest you. We do the paid partnerships in that situation, but there are also cases when I get some really, really random requests, but for some good maybe money. But I said lots of no's last year, but I don't regret, because at some point when I start even explaining to them why I don't want to do that, it takes so much time. But I feel responsible to explain also the no, why I don't want it there. But I'm also seeing that mostly people already approach in a way that they know that I could be interested in that.
Yeah.
So they approach me and sending me this kind of information. So this is something we do, and probably will be also doing, because we have to live, pay the rents, go to shopping and everything.
Very important.
Of course. And but
because this has become your full-time job.
Yeah.
Right.
I still have my creative agency in Georgia, and we do stuff there with the brands, and I have also the income coming from there, but it's not something that is enough for, especially when I now planning to move to Europe. It's a different life here, and there are different salaries in Georgia. So you have to adapt here.
Course.
But of course, there are brands just to have the chance of having exclusive information for them for free, let's say, and to have this much trust from them that they want me to be the one who will break the information about them. It's worth more than any money, because this is the trust that they gave to me, and I appreciate this so much, and I have brands that I like more, I like less, but just to share a fact of something, if it's me and I can make it with my words, I can work with the brand that's not in my top 5 favorite list, but every brand something interesting point.
I agree.
They are all interesting. It can't be my style, but it is something that I can make it myself, then why not?
Perfect. So we were talking off mic before. You said you were just considering moving to Paris and are here to make that all happen.
Yeah.
While you were talking, I was just curious, why now? Why not when you were like 18, 19, like after uni, or when you started working for this brand which had like international potential?
Actually, I was going to study my master's degree in France, and I was already preparing my documents and preparing for the exam before I started working for the Georgian brand. But when I got this opportunity to work there, I said no to move. I said, okay, this is the real fashion job, and I can work and see myself. And when I was seeing that I could have a creative freedom, and mostly I never felt that I had some boss, because my technical boss was and is my friend until now. So we did everything. We felt like we were on the same level in the company. So I felt I had a chance to explore my ideas, which I would not have for for a long time here in Paris. And then it just became the routine. You can't leave the routine that time. But when I opened my creative agency, it was the first thought, the serious thinking to start to move here. But then pandemic started. It obviously stopped. But right now, it's a good time because I'm missing so many opportunities and meetings and just
networking
development
and
networking, because it's very important to be there in the moment. And really, there is so much good stuff happening, like in Europe. And again, with the lack of direct flights from Georgia, it's really taking me so much time and energy out of me. So then I had to go to the long process of getting visa. Honestly, I want to live in Italy more than in Paris, because I know that lots of people tell me that if you want to keep loving in Paris, you should not live in Paris. You have to live outside and come back time by time, because every time you come back, you fell in love again.
Yes.
But in Italy, honestly, one of the main reasons why I want to go there is the food, because I love Italian food.
Yes.
And I kind of feel it's more chill and easier to live in Milan rather than in Paris.
100%.
But due to my passports and administration stuff and everything, I should be here for some time. And let's see how it goes. But anyway, I'm excited to see and interested and curious to see what is the daily life here, because I never lived here outside of fashion ever.
Well, welcome. We're happy to have you in town.
Thank you.
Do you want to address anything? Or I think we've covered everything, but I don't know if you have anything else.
I think we covered more than it was necessary.
No, it was perfect.
No, and I mean, we could meet, let's say, in a few years again.
Yes.
And see what, and hopefully speak in French.
Oh, that'd be good.
Because, I mean, I obviously want to learn French, Italian, or many more languages. Because it makes things a lot easier to live here.
Yeah.
So I'm also interested to see how my life's gonna be, where I will be, how I will be, what's gonna be with the page, with myself, if I will have fun, if I will be bored, but I don't believe in this. But it's gonna be interesting to see how
everything turns out.
But one thing is that I also need to learn to speak less in a way, because even today, I mean, you tell me you are very polite and tell me it was super interesting. I don't know. Because
it is for sure.
But it really also takes so much energy from me, because I'm everything like that. I put all my energy in everything I do, even making the food or making a post or talking to this. And this is one of the points that I should speak less and with the less speed, because I mean, I feel this is one of the last and longest interviews that I did, because
I'm glad then.
I mean, because I told so many people my story, but enough is enough. Okay. I feel that now it's going to be more interesting to see how I will develop my life from now on with my new life.
I'm so excited to see this.
Me too.
Thank you so much, Vika.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.